Hi, I'm Cale Finnell, and I'm the house coordinator for Brothers in Recovery. I'm 24 years old.
Where are you from?
I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
What?
I graduated from Booker T. Washington High School and went on to Oklahoma State University. I was first introduced to my drug of choice when I was 17 years old. I was in high school. I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous at a very young age. I would go to meetings with my aunt frequently, so I knew about addiction. I was educated on addiction. So I picked up pretty quickly that I had a problem with painkillers. I stole a very large amount of money from my parents, and that kind of made me realize that the issue was real. So I stopped using painkillers for close to a year, and I was drinking and smoking pot that whole year. I made no real progress in life. I was just kind of coasting. Drugs became more important than school to me. I would drive into Tulsa almost on a daily basis, an hour and a half every single day. I was constantly missing school, which reflected in my grades. And after one semester at Oklahoma State University, I had to withdraw from all my classes due to my drug use. It became the main part of my life. Without my drug of choice, I wasn't happy. I was miserable. I decided to get help whenever I was 21 years old. I was sitting in my driveway, miserable with my work situation. I had a good job, but I wasn't. I was skipping work. I was not happy. I was calling my parents every day, talking about how awful my job was and how awful my life was. And I was sitting in my driveway after I got back from work one day. I started calling for treatment centers. I was looking for just a 1-week treatment center where I could go in and get out, just get clean, go back to drinking and smoking pot like everyday life. I couldn't let go of everything. So I called around. I didn't want to tell my parents about it. I kept it to myself. I called around looking for treatment centers. And finally, I ended up talking with my mom about it. And she talked to a doctor who suggested Valley Hope. So 2 days later, after I was sitting in my driveway trying to get into a treatment center, 2 days later, after my mom called that doctor, I was packing up and heading to Valley Hope. So I spent close to 25 days in Valley Hope, and throughout that stay they were pushing me to go to a place called Rob's Ranch. It's a 3-month treatment center, and I was very skeptical about it. 4 months in treatment is a long time. I was thinking I was going to go a week and be clean and be back to my normal life, but luckily I was convinced that I needed more treatment. So from Valley Hope, I drove directly from Valley Hope to Rob's Ranch in Purcell, Oklahoma. And that's where things did start to change for me. They helped me learn who I really was. I had completely forgotten who I was before I started using drugs and alcohol. And they really helped me actually move forward and realizing why I had this drug problem, that I had a disease, that I was born with it. And after the 4 months in treatment, I decided to move back home, which they advised me against. They strongly advise you to go to sober living after, and I didn't want to do that. I had spent 4 months in treatment. I was ready to go home and get my life back together. So that's what I did. I went home, and 2 days after I got out of treatment, I was smoking pot again. I still, in my head, through 4 months of treatment, I had it stuck in my head that I could smoke pot and still live an everyday life and be okay. So that's what I did. I went out and I started smoking pot. After about a week of just smoking pot, I went on to drinking alcohol. So soon after, about a month after getting out of treatment, I began getting Lortabs again, and taking Lortabs and thinking I could function in everyday life. I was going to use them occasionally and I'd be okay. But that wasn't the case. Lortabs led back to oxycodone. I was forced to move into a motel. So I lived in the motel for about 2 weeks. That first week I was still using. I'd pawned my laptop in order to pay for the first week and to get my drugs. After a week of being in the motel, I began talking to Chris Flannery with Brothers in Recovery. And that's whenever I got a little bit of hope, where I felt that I could get the help that I needed. I felt that his house was the right house for me. And you know, he called me every single day, and I stayed in constant touch with him. I had a group of friends that were actually doing the right thing. And I stayed in touch with them, and they helped me out a lot throughout the process. You know, one thing that I did do after getting out of treatment was get a sponsor, Sam Stutes, and he helped me out tremendously even whenever I was using. He stuck by my side, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today. Because he had faith in me when nobody else did. I was invited out to Brothers in Recovery's life group at 6:30, so I drove out and sat in on the meeting. And after the meeting, they voted whether I should be let into the house or not. I didn't have much time, but it was either move in there or I would have had to go back to the motel. And I was lucky enough that the house voted me in, and I was able to stay there that night instead of going back to the motel. And moving in there gave me structure. I kept myself busy with my job, and then constantly whenever you come home, you have a group of guys that you can talk to about your day. And they're just there for you whenever you need them. Chris Flannery has helped me immensely since I moved into the house. He has helped me financially. He's taught me how to save money. He has helped me in my spiritual life. He has taught me how to be a leader, giving me the opportunity to manage the Clean Country Living House. Life today is completely different from a year and a half ago. Today I have a relationship with my family. I have a brotherhood that's always going to be there for me. And I wouldn't be where I was today without Brothers in Recovery, Chris Flannery, and Rob's Ranch. I've been sober since January 10th, 2015. I'm Cale Finnell, and I'm a drug addict and alcoholic, and that was my spotlight.